Hello, I'm your host, Tinfoil Tom, and today we're investigating a visitor from the future. The future, full of hoverboards, power laces, and auto-drying jackets. A place full of flying DeLoreans and punk kids from the 1980s trying to prevent a nightmarish future version of Hill Valley. Wait, wrong movie. But I am talking about a version of the future. One that is complete with apocalyptic predictions about a future war that ends with the deaths of billions of people and darn it, wrong movie again. But people's lives are still at stake in this story. This episode is about the future, or a possible future. On today's episode, we're talking about a time soldier named John Titor. As I've now done a few times in the past, and because everybody loves a trilogy, I refer to the godfather of ghoulish, the superintendent of spooky, and the master of the macabre, Art Bell, who started the amazing talk show Coast to Coast AM, which focuses on everything from UFOs to ghost encounters and everything in between. This will be my last investigation involving the late and great Art Bell for now, but I urge you to look up some past episodes of his program. On an evening in 1998, Art opened up his phone lines, as he often did, and received not a phone call, but a fax. For those of you who don't know what a fax is, and yes, I'm dating myself here, it was essentially a way to send somebody a scan of something, say a document or text, before email was a thing, over phone lines. Ah, technology. We've come a long way. Art actually read that fax on the air. What I present to you now is that audio evidence as read by Art Bell in 1998. And roll tape.
Dear Art, I had to fax when I heard other time travelers calling in from any time past the year 2500 AD. Please let me explain. Time travel was invented in 2034. Offshoots of certain successful fusion reactor research allowed scientists at CERN to produce the world's first contained singularity engine. The basic design involves rotating singularities inside a magnetic field. By altering the speed and direction of rotation, you can travel both forward and backward in time. Time itself can be understood in terms of connected lines. When you go back in time, you travel on your original timeline. When you turn the singularity engine off, a new timeline is created due to the fact that you and your time machine are now there. In other words, a new universe is created. To get back to your original line, you must travel a split second farther back and immediately throw the engine into forward without turning it off. Some interesting outcomes of this are: 1. You meet yourself. I have done it often, even taken a younger version of myself along for a few rides before returning myself to the new timeline and going back to mine. 2. You can alter history in the new universe that you have just created. Most of the time, the changes are subtle. Sometimes I'll notice car models that don't exist or books that come out late. The oldest one was a skyscraper that wasn't built in a near-favorite store of mine in New York. Interestingly, when you travel in time, you must compensate for the orbit of the Earth. Since the time machine doesn't move, you have to adjust the engine so you remain on the planet when you turn it off. Unfortunately, it was also discovered that anyone going forward in time from my 2036 hit a brick wall in the year 2564. Everyone who has ever been there has reported that nothing exists. When the machine is turned off, you find yourself surrounded by blackness and silence.
In posts on the Time Traveler Institute forums, and later Coast to Coast owned forums and in faxes sent into Art while he was on the air, Titor claimed to be a soldier from the year 2036 sent back in time to the year 1975 to retrieve components from an IBM 5100 computer to debug various computer systems in the future to prevent a catastrophe stemming from the year 2038 problem, a real thing in our future, which involves issues from the computer's processors suffering some sort of malfunction due to limitations in the systems they power, causing all sorts of chaos. Many think of this as a Y2K2 type scenario, with more potentially far-reaching problems occurring as a result of it. Did the military send somebody back in time to prevent a failure of our future tech? According to Teeter, on his many forum posts from around this time period, he was selected for this top-secret mission because his grandfather had actually worked on the IBM 5100. And Teeter, keen on preventing many of the events that would occur during his timeline, leapt at the chance, even going so far as to warn everybody he came in contact with about an upcoming civil war, nuclear blasts, an illness called Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, and even made a quick stopover in the year 2000 to grab various artifacts lost in the potential upcoming civil war, such as family photos, just in case he was unable to prevent the upcoming battles. He also warns, as you've previously heard in the Call to Art Bell, of a literal void of nothingness around the year 2564. What happened there, and why? Teeter claimed that time soldiers like him were trying to stop whatever this impending doom was, or at least figure out what happened and attempt to stop it. As the ultimate time-traveling badass, Teeter described his vehicle through time as being powered by a, quote, stationary mass temporal displacement unit powered by two top-spin dual-positive singularities, end quote, made by GE, mounted to a 1967 Corvette. Yeah, because I'm sure nobody would care about a time-traveling Corvette. That's just cool, man. But what if any of these predictions were true? We didn't collapse into a total hellscape during Y2K. A civil war didn't happen. Although the United States has become more heavily divided, it is still not to that extent that Teeter described. A full-scale World War III didn't happen either. Nuclear war didn't wipe out half the Earth's population. As with many early internet legends, it would seem this may have been an elaborate form of storytelling involving internet forums, Coast to Coast AM, and fax machines. According to Joseph Matheny, the creator of the Ong's Hat ARG, via Thrillist, he actually worked on the John Teeter project. That confirms that this just may be a story, if we are to believe him. Matheny went on to say, quote, "I'm going to be picky with what I say to you over what I've said in the past. John Teeter is a story that was created as a literary experiment by people who were observing what I was doing with Ong's Hat. And these people wanted to do something like that. I was a consultant on the project, but it wasn't my project." End quote. Speculation is that because Matheny is the only project member to come forward as of yet, and will not reveal the actual creators, is that he is either A, not telling the truth, or B, is telling the truth, but because nobody else has actually admitted to being John Teeter, that the internet did what it does and spread the story into legend, and it became truth rather than fiction. The thing about the John Teeter legend is that it is constructed in such a way that regardless of what you believe, there is no way to prove it did or didn't happen definitively. If you choose to believe Teeter's story, he himself prevented the worst from occurring. So even if it was set to take place, he has altered the future on our timeline. Or if it's false, with no one to directly point the finger at, you can't 100% say that it is in fact false. Time travel is a really tricky thing, especially when it's so complex, as it is in this case. Teeter does seem to have in-depth knowledge of various computer systems, and a lot of things he said could be interpreted as truth or some version of it. I think, for this one, I'll have to dive deep, very deep, to get to the truth. So let's just call this the first file, with more intel coming at a later date, in the future, or the past, present.
Tinfoil Tom! Tinfoil Tom! It's me, Aluminium Alan.
What? How did you get in here? This is a secure area.
Listen up, boyo, cause I'm you from Earth 69,420, and we have to talk.
Want more truth? Every week, Tinfoil Tom presents to you the Unbelievable Mysteries Podcast. Link to that show is in the description of this video. Thank you for all the support and encouragement. It really means a lot to me. And if you could do me one huge favor, please ring that bell so you get notifications when an upload is posted to this channel. Thank you for your commitment to the truth.